Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi fi kulli lahadatin abada. Adada ni'amillahi wa awdalihi. Allahumma atina من لدنك رحمة وعلمنا من لدنك علما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نوينا تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكر والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أوامرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهم نعرف به كيف ناجيك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس ما قبل ما بعده فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أكرمنا بنور الفهم وخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم يا من مقاليد الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم افتح علينا فتحا قريبا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري وحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال إخلاص اليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرة الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين 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 الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. We're continuing with our class on the book من كتاب تذكرة الحضرمية فيما يجب على النساء من الأمور الدينية تأليف العلامة السيد محمد بن سالم بن حفيظ العلوي الحسيني الحضرمي الشافعي ونفعنا الله به وبعلومه في الدارين. Now from the book, the Hadrami Reminder on what is compulsory on every woman to know about the matters of her religion by the great scholar Muhammad bin Salim bin Hafiz from the Ba'alwi, from the lineage of Sayyidina Hussein, and from Hadramaut and of the Shafi'i Mazhab, till where he has, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala benefit us by him and by his knowledge in both abodes, till where he has said. So last week we were still on this chapter on what is impermissible for those on haid and nifas, right? So a major hadas to do, right? What is impermissible for them to do, right? So and what is impermissible for those on haid and nifas to do. And last week I went through it without going through in detail the explanation, right? The explanation of this parts of the of the text, right? So today I'm going to go back to it and I'm going to explain just the details of this, right? So the first one, the sixth. So together with what is impermissible, with what is impermissible on those on menses and nifas are the 6 days impermissible on those on janaba. And janaba means to be in major hadath or major state of impurity because of sexual intercourse or releasing mani fluid that comes with a sexual high. Right. So just to give a diagram for us to understand this. Right. So whatever just do this. Okay, so whatever is not whatever is impermissible for those in without wudu, right? So those on minor, right? Minor hadas. Okay, so for those on minor hadas, what is impermissible for them? I'm putting in a circle, okay? So for example, it is not permissible for the one in minor hadas to pray. It is not permissible for the one in minor hadas. Minor hadas means requires wudu. Let's put it there also, just to make it clear. Right, so no wudu. Okay, right, so what is impermissible for the one on minor hadas, right, meaning the one who has no wudu, is they're not able to pray, right? They cannot pray until they perform wudu to remove their minor hadas. They cannot tawaf, right? Because tawaf requires wudu. They cannot touch the mushaf, right? Nor can they carry the mushaf, right? They cannot touch the mushaf or the specific verses of the Quran. Mushaf meaning the Quran. Mushaf is Quran. Okay. Nor can they touch the verses of the Quran, nor can they carry a mushaf. And I will explain the definition of mushaf in a while. Okay, so for the one on minor hadas, they cannot do prayer. I'm going to put a tick. They cannot do tawaf, they cannot touch the mushaf, and they cannot carry a mushaf. Okay, they can recite, right? So the one on minor hadas, so there's no wudu, you can recite. Okay, I'm going to draw a bigger circle outside of that, using a different color. Okay. Right. This will be major hadas, those on major hadas, right? Major hadas due to janaba. Okay, major hadas due to janaba. What is janaba? Sexual intercourse or releasing mani. Okay, all right. So all that is impermissible for the one on minor hadas is also impermissible for the one on major hadas, as we see here, right? So it's also impermissible for them to pray, impermissible for them to tawaf, impermissible for them to touch the mushaf, impermissible for them to carry the mushaf. And two extra things. That is permissible for those on minor hadas, but not permissible for those on major hadas. So to sit in the masjid, not permissible for them, and to recite the Quran with the recitation, with the intention of recitation. Right? The key word is here, intention of recitation. So once you intend that it's a recitation, it is not permissible. All right, see? All right. So these 6 things is not permissible for the one on major hadas due to janaba. In addition to this, right, now you have the biggest circle, right? People who have the most things not permissible for them are people on major hadas. It's also called major hadas. And as we mentioned, it's called major hadas because the only way to remove it is to perform the compulsory bath. Right, so for both the purple and the red, the only way to remove it is to perform the compulsory bath, which is why they're both called major hadas, but they are of different types of major hadas. Why are they of different types? Because the one in purple can be removed by choice, right? Because if you go into a major hadas because of sexual intercourse or releasing mani, you can very well go and remove it by performing the bath. Whereas the one in red, right, major hadas, right, due to, I didn't choose red because it's menses and nifas. It just so happened to be the first color I saw. But now I'm like, okay, I chose red. But major hadas due to menses. Right, menses and nifas. Okay, menses and nifas. So these people, right, they are on major hadas because the only way to remove their hadas is by bath, but they can't remove by choice in a sense that they must wait for their menses or nifas to finish. It must finish. So like if I'm having menses right now, I can't choose to come out of my major hadas. I cannot. I have to wait until the menses ends. As opposed to, for example, if someone were to have intercourse, then now they are in major hadas, they can very well choose to remove it, right? By going and taking a bath, right? And removing the major hadas. So for the one on the red circle, right, it will be all of these six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of these six, right? And there is there are two more things that is impermissible. There are more things that are impermissible for her. I'm going to move downwards. The whole thing is going to move, but never mind. Right, which is fasting, right? Okay, which is fasting. In addition to fasting, walking through a masjid, to walk through the masjid, she feels the thing with the blood, and to seek sexual pleasure, and also to be divorced, which later on we will speak about that, right? But the impermissibility is on the husband to divorce her. Right? It's haram on him to divorce her if he knows that she is on major hadas. Let's bring this back up here, right? So there's so for the one on major hadas due to menses, she has additional stuff. There is impermissible for her, which is basically, I'm going to put it all here, right? So fasting, right? Fasting, right? Walking through masjid, right? Walking through masjid, walking through the masjid, and then sexual pleasure, right? To seek sexual pleasure, which I'll go through in a while, what it means, sexual pleasure, right? And then divorce. And here the impermissibility is on the husband. As with sexual pleasure, is also on the husband, not on her, but on her husband. It is impermissible for him to seek sexual pleasure from her between her navel and her knee because she is on menses, and this is a possibility of her of him wanting to have intercourse with her. And of course, intercourse itself is haram and a major haram for the one who is on menses. So I'll put here intercourse also itself. Intercourse, right, itself is haram, and it's a major haram for those on menses to have intercourse. Okay, alhamdulillah. Let me just explain the first six. All right, I'm going to explain the first six. One thing that I want to mention is that for the purple one, right, the one on major hadas to janaba, that you can remove the hadas. For this purple one, right, it is said by some scholars that for the one in for the purple group, right, they cannot recite Quran even if it is for seeking protection or wirid. So for the one in major hadas, they can choose to remove it. They can choose to remove it. They cannot recite Quran at all, right? Because they can very well go and remove the hadas. So go and remove the hadas and then go and recite Quran. Right? So even if it's a wirid, right? Like, so for example, if someone, had intercourse, right? And the person is in major hadas. And if this person decides to recite, for example, Surah Fatiha, or recite Surah Yasin, or maybe it is nighttime and then she just had intercourse and she's, while resting after intercourse, she wants to recite Surah Muluk. No, cannot. She cannot. She's not like the one on menses, because the one on menses is unable to remove her hadas. So which is why she's allowed to recite whatever is her habit to recite in the night. But the one on janaba, she's not allowed. She needs to go and remove the janaba, then recite. And it's only good etiquette with the Quran. Don't be there in major hadas and then want to recite, and then want to recite, Quran when you're in major hadas, subhanallah. Okay. All right. Okay, so here, inshallah. Okay, let me just explain the first two, the first six here. So the first thing here is clear it, clear all drawings. All right, the 6 minutes that impermissible janaba is due to either sexual janaba is also impermissible for the one on head and nifas. So prayer, the first thing we say about prayer and all forms of prayer. Okay, I'm gonna type it here lah. So type. Right, so prayer, right, meaning all forms of prayer. Okay, so same with the one with no wudu, right? So all forms of prayer. And we went through wudu as well. All forms of prayer, i.e. sujud, right, syukur, right? Salat janazah, right? And all, basically all forms lah of prayer, even sujud syukur by itself, sujud syukur or sujud tilawah. Sujud tilawah is basically sujud that you do when you recite the Quran, right? Sujud syukur is the one that you do when you feel syukur. Okay, so janazah and so on. Okay, for tawaf, right? So for the woman on menses, she cannot sujud also. She's not allowed to sujud, right? For tawaf, and also on top of that, we mentioned that for the woman on menses, she cannot perform wudu as well. Right? It is impermissible for her to perform wudu, whereas the one on janaba can perform wudu, and in fact, it's sunnah. It is sunnah for the one on janaba to perform wudu. And let me just put it here, just to take note. Okay, right? Well, it is sunnah for the one on janaba to perform wudu, right? So as to remove some of the hadath, right? It is impermissible for the one on menses, right? Or nifas to perform wudu. Okay. So for tawaf, of course, tawaf to go around the Kaaba, you need to be in full purity. So there's not much commentary there lah. Okay. Touching the mushaf, right? So what is a mushaf? So now comes the question, right? What is a mushaf? Right? What constitutes a mushaf? Okay. A mushaf is basically any book that is primarily a Quran. Okay, what does this mean? Any book that is primarily a Quran. Any book that is primarily a Quran has two meanings. The first meaning, right? The first meaning is, right, so this one I'm going to put another arrow like that. Meaning, primarily a Quran, meaning that firstly, either it is a Quran, it is a Quran, right? Let's see how do I phrase this? It is a Quran, mainly. I mean, it is a. I'm gonna say, let me rephrase myself. It is a Quran, with some, even though there is translation. Okay, I'm going to give you an opinion here, right? Which is a more, then I'll give you another opinion, okay? I'll give two opinions, right? So meaning firstly, either number one, it is a Quran. Okay, so for example, I have a mushaf with me right now, right? And in there, primarily in the pages, actually I want to, let me see if I can pause the live so I can show you all. Okay, never mind. I can't on my video right now. Right. So okay, let me just say, okay, let me just find this on the internet. I'm sure it's on the internet that there are those kind of Qurans with the translation. Okay, so you see Mushaf, right? Malay. Okay, so when you look at this kind of Mushaf, right? Okay. Let me see. Okay, can. Let me do a new share, okay? Okay. You see this kind of mushafs, right? Okay. This kind of mushafs, right? You see this one? Do you know here? Okay. Because I'm giving you all the a more what you say. I don't want to call it strict ruling, but it's like it's a first ruling, right? And then there were discussions on it, and then some scholars permitted it, right? So, but basically, right, you see this mushaf, right? Right, you see this mushaf, right? The Quran is here, and the translation over here. Okay, this book is primarily a Quran. Do you get it? When I hold this book, right? What do you say? Am I holding a Quran? You say yes, you are holding a Quran. Correct? Even though I have a whole lot of Malay or English written over here, is this book primarily Quran? Is this book serving the function of a Quran? Answer is yes. Correct. Correct. And I know that people will be wondering about this because I know a lot of people, they hold this kind of Quran when they don't have their wudu and when they're on their menses, they hold this kind of Quran. But originally, the ruling is they cannot because it's actually Quran. Even though there is translation over here. But of course, we are working on a different opinion that allows for it. Okay, so those who carry this kind of Quran with the translation here, they are working on a different opinion. Right? But I want to just mention, right, that there is this ruling. The ruling is there. But it's just that because it's been so difficult for women to hold a Quran to learn. If you can't hold this type, then what can I hold? I can hold this kind. Right? So you see the Malay there, right? I don't know if there's a better picture, but it's not this kind of Malay Qurans or in the English language whereby it's primarily a Quran. See, it's primarily a Quran. So the whole thing is called Quran. It is called Quran, even though there is English or Malay by the side. So even though it's English and Malay by the side, it is primarily Quran. It is a Quran. When you open it, what do you see? You see Quran, correct? Yeah. So for me personally, this kind, okay, you see, it is primarily this is very clear. Okay, this one you all see. Where did it go? Where is the sun? Oh. Okay. Right. So you see, primarily, right. So what the whole thing here is Quran, right? So you see, but the translation of the side, what the side is commentary on the Quran, right? The side translation is commentary on the Quran. So there is the whole thing is Quran, right? So I'm giving this opinion because it's to just expose you all to this opinion, all right? Which is actually a primary opinion, right? That you cannot hold this kind of Quran. Myself personally, right? I ever since I learned this, I refrain from holding this kind of Quran when I'm on my menses. I actually refrain because we are in a zaman or we are in a time whereby we we have technology, right? So with technology, you can literally open an entire mushaf without touching anything at all, right? So if you see here, let me show you this. If you see here, let me see, I open this one, open this one. Okay, hope you're seeing the same page I'm seeing. Okay, here. All right. So you see here that I can open a website, right? And I can have a full page Quran in front of me. All right. See that? So right now I'm not touching my computer at all. I am not in contact with my computer at all. I'm using a Bluetooth mouse. I have no way or means of touching this Quran at all, right? I can very well look at it. If I'm on my menses, I can very look at it. Right? So in a sense, or you can do this kind of Quran also as well. Right? But this will be counted if this was printed. If it was printed onto a piece of paper, it is counted as a Quran. So you all you're hearing this, eh? Right? So but of course, there is that opinion that allows for us women on menses to hold this kind of Quran, to hold this kind, whereby there's the Quran is there, the Arabic is there, and the translation is there, right? But Habib Mashhur, he mentioned in one of his classes that this is actually the whole thing is Quran. Even the Malay, the English is commentary on the Quran. What is meant by the scholars when they say that more than half of the book is not Quran? They are referring to books that whereby there are zikrs in there. So the zikr like khulasa, the khulasa, less than half is the Quran, right? So the first one I'm putting here, okay, I hope you're all hearing this, so don't, if anything you need to ask your questions. So number 2, so either it is a Quran, you call the book what? Quran. You call the book Quran. Or number 2, more than half of the book is Quran. Okay, so for example, if I have a khulasa, if I have a zikir book, okay, do I call my zikir book Quran or do I call it zikir book? Right. So I say, okay, I will call it a zikir book. I'll call it a khulasa. I'll call it a ma'surat. Right. I will call it what I call it. It's called, ratib or something like that. I will call it by what it's called. Okay. That kind of book, okay, because it's not called a Quran, right? The ruling goes by, does that book contain more than half of it being Quran? So if it's more than half of a book that is not identified as a Quran, if more than half of the book is the verse of the Quran, then I cannot touch that book when I'm on my menses or when I don't have wudu. or when I am on janaba. Okay, but if less than half the book is Quran, right, then the book is called a zikir book. It does not fall under the ruling of Quran. Okay, all right. What about, people ask the question, what about a whiteboard? If I have a whiteboard that has Quran written on it, is the whiteboard counted as a mushaf? So you see what I'm doing, I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. What is a mushaf? It's not so straightforward. Right? What constitutes a mushaf? It's not so straightforward. Right? So either it is identified as a Quran, right? Even though there is translation, or it is not identified as a Quran, it is not identified as a Quran, but more than half of the book is Quranic verses. Okay, right? Number 3, right? A surface that has some Quran verses written on it with the intention of it being of studying or learning, of learning or studying the Quran, i.e. it is intended to be Quran. Okay, all right. So for example, if I have a whiteboard, all right, like a sort of small whiteboards, and I write on this small whiteboard some verses of the Quran. Okay, so I write Fatiha. I write Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim itself is a verse in the Quran. So I wrote Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, in me writing Bismillahirrahmanirrahim on my whiteboard, if I intended for that to be tabarruk, that means I want barakah, I want blessings. So I wrote Bismillahirrahmanirrahim on my whiteboard, intending blessings, in whatever I'm doing. So when I teach the children, I write on the top of the whiteboard, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I don't intend the Bismillahirrahmanirrahim to be Quran, but I intend it to be, I want blessings from it. So the whiteboard is not, it will not have the ruling of mushaf. It will not have the ruling of mushaf. But if I wrote Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, intending this to be part of Surah Fatiha, all right, I intend that the Bismillahirrahmanirrahim that I'm writing to be part of Surah Fatiha, which I just did a few days ago, where I wrote on the whiteboard, Bismillah, and I put in the name of Allah. And I put Ar-Rahman, and I put the most gracious, the most merciful, Ar-Rahim, rather specifically merciful. So I wrote down the translation, and I know in my heart I was teaching them Fatiha. Right? So when I wrote the Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I was teaching the Fatiha. So that counts as Quran. And now the whiteboard is a mushaf. It has become a mushaf, right? Because I have written the verses, intending these verses to be Quran. There's a big difference there, and the difference goes to the intention. So now comes the question, if I have a framed up verse in the house, so like I have Ayatul Kursi, or I have the 3 quls, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and it's all framed up on my wall. If I want to lift up my frame and bring down my frame, must I be in wudu? Must I have wudu to do that? Right, the answer is, the frame, the intention is for barakah, mainly, right? It's for blessings. Or for zina, right? Zina meaning beautification. Right? So most people, when they frame up Quran in their houses, they are intending blessings, they are intending beautification, right? So it is not haram for them to hold it, even if they don't have wudu. But of course, it is best in respecting the Quran that if you can have wudu, to have wudu in carrying all these frames. But these are not, you don't intend them to be like a mushaf, but you intended them to be a form of beautification or a form of blessing for the home. So you put it up in your house. Okay, I hope you understand. All right. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Naam. Right. So similarly, I know I ever had someone, say to me about there was this bag that was being sold, and the word on the bag says Iqra in Arabic. It says Iqra in Arabic. All right. So then somebody was having an issue saying that the word iqra is part of the Quran. You know, many Arabic words are part of the Quran. many Arabic words are part of the Quran. The Quran is an entire book. You have like 2,000 base root Arabic words in the Quran, and altogether the word count in the Quran goes beyond 6,000. Right? So can I just write a random Arabic word, you know, on my book or on my bag or on my, you know, on my stuff, and then straight away this stuff I can't bring to the bathroom, or I can't carry it around, or I can't put it on the floor, or I can't, you know, what is the ruling? Because Arabic is a language in itself, right? Arabic is a language in itself. The Quran is in the Arabic language. So then the answer is, it goes back to your intention, right? So the word iqra was written on a piece of paper or on a bag, right? If the word iqra was written with the intention of it just being an Arabic word, it's just an Arabic word, there's no intention of it being Quran at all, right? So a non-Muslim could do it, right? A non-Muslim Arab, right? And there are many non-Muslim Arabs. There are Christian Arabs, there are Jewish Arabs, and so on. Right? No, Christian Arabs, not Jewish Arabs. They're Christian Arabs, right? They could very well write the word iqra. And there are many non-Muslims who do learn Arabic. If you go all over the world in universities, Arabic is a language that is taught, right? So if a non-Muslim were to write Iqra, you know, on their bag, you know, or on their book, and they don't intend it to be Quran in any way or form, it's not Quran. It's just an Arabic word. Then is the ruling of an Arabic word? It's an Arabic word. It's not Quran. But if it was written to be part of the first verse of Surah Alaq, is part of the first verse of Surah Alaq. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaqa. Right? So if it was written with that intention, then automatically it is Quran. Okay, it is Quran with the intention. So the key here is what? Intention. Intention really makes or breaks it. Same thing with recitation later on. When you recite, right? For as long as you intend recitation, it is not permissible. But if you intend protection, if you intend habit, habitual recitation every morning you read Surah Yasin, for example, permissible. Right. So this just before this class, someone asked me, you know, on my menses, can I recite 41 Yasins with an intention? But I make sure that these 41 Yasins coincide with my daily ritual Yasins. She asked that question. So every day I read Yasins anyway, right? So can I just intend for 41 days, my morning Yasin that I recite every day anyway will count as a 41 Yasins that I want to recite for an intention. So then I say, no, you can't, because 41 Yasins is recitation. It is recitation, even though you're doing it because you have a need, it is recitation. So when you recite the 41 Yasins, you are intending recitation. So she says, but what if I read Yasins anyway in the morning? It's my habit. Yes, but your habit is the intention of habit. Wirid, it's a wirid. It's a habit that you do every day. You're not reciting the Quran. Okay, then now let's flip the situation. Can I, if I'm not on my menses, count my morning Yasin readings to be part of 41 Yasins? Can I do so? Answer is yes. Yes. And say, why? Why? Because your morning recitation of Yasin, you can intend together with the recitation the intention of recitation. So while you intend is your habit and you're intending protection, you're also intending recitation. So it can count as 41 Yasins. It can. Right. So like for example, like give another example. For example, if I'm reading my daily Quran and I come to Surah Isra. Okay, I come to Surah Isra. After Surah Isra is Surah Kahfi. Okay, so I finished Surah Isra on a Thursday. The next day is Friday. And Friday, it is my habit to recite Surah Kahfi. It's my habit. Okay, so I'm not on my menses, right? I'm reading. So the next day, it's my habit to read Surah Kahfi anyway. Can I just continue my daily Quran reading into Surah Kahfi and finish Surah Kahfi and move my mark? And I do Surah Kahfi anyway on Friday, or must I read Surah Kahfi twice? You see the question? The answer is, you can just read through. I read Surah Kahfi and move your mark, and it counts for your Friday Kahfi as well. Okay, then now comes another question. Okay, if I finish Surah Isra, right, and then I'm on Thursday, I finish Surah Isra. The next surah is Surah Kahfi. And then I get my menses. Okay, I get my menses. The next day, on Friday, I read Surah Kahfi anyway because it's my habit. My habit to read Surah Kahfi on Fridays. Can I move my mark in my normal daily Quran reading? Can I move it? Because I kind of done Surah Kahfi, right? The answer is no. Because the Surah Kahfi that you did on that Friday can only carry the intention of habit, and it cannot carry the intention of recitation. It cannot. Right? Why? Because you're on menses. You cannot recite the Quran with the intention of recitation. All right, see that? So this is why even Surah Fatiha, right? If I were to say Al-Fatiha after every class, so I say Al-Fatiha anna Allah yarzuquna manafi'an wa aman, and I do the Fatiha after class, can you recite that Fatiha? Answer is no, cannot. Because that Fatiha is recitation, it is not habit. It falls under recitation. Okay, I hope that is clear. All right, Alhamdulillah. All right, so carrying the mushaf. Okay, so to understand what constitutes a mushaf. Let me see the questions first. I'll take one by one. So I think the first two, okay. Then C is the first one that I think have questions. Then I'll go bit by bit, okay, as we explain through this. Okay. The question, where is this question? Okay, a lot of questions. Okay, okay, Quran app on the handphone. Can we open the app? Okay, with regards to Quran app, there are two different opinions. Okay, the first opinion is that it is nothing because it is digital. It is nothing. It's not really there. Right. So there's one opinion that says that no, it counts for nothing lah. Right. So you can basically just open up and use it. The other opinion that I learned from Habib Mashhur's daughter, Maryam, was that you cannot when you open the Quran app on your phone, it takes the ruling of Quran. Right? It takes the ruling of Quran. If the entire page, if the whole page is Quran, then it takes the ruling of Quran. Right. But however, if there's translation in it, same thing is still Quran. And then if you want to scroll it, you can't touch the Arabic. That is the most stricter opinion. There is an opinion that says that no, it discounts for nothing. It's like a human being who has taught Quran in his memory. It's like that. They liken it to that way, like a human being who has taught Quran in his memory. That's one opinion. The other one is no, when you open up on the page, it becomes like a book. So it has a ruling of the book Quran. So it's up to you. I give you both opinions. You can decide which is easier for you, right? Inshallah. Okay. As but for me personally, I will not open the Quran on my phone when I'm on my menses. But then again, if you memorize stuff, it's just much easier. You just go by your memory. But I will not open up Quran on my phone on my menses. Question here, if my teacher chooses to follow the opinion which allows for those on the menses to touch Quran with translation and recite for classes also, and even if I don't follow his opinion, should I still attend my class and recite the Quran out of adab to the teacher? For this situation, it is not considered to be adab, but it's considered to be difference of opinion. You can choose to differ. You have a right to differ, and you can choose to differ. Right? So you don't. Right? So if you hold on to the opinion that you cannot touch the Quran and you cannot recite, then the teacher should not have an issue with that. Because the teacher should know that there is another opinion, and then they should respect those who want to take the other opinion. Okay. Right. Okay. We don't know the about the bag that has word Iqra, right? I think is the they say is a Mendaki bag, is it? Yeah. The Mendaki bag is one that has the word Iqra. Yeah, it's the Mendaki bag that has the Iqra. Right. So it's your intention lah. So you carry the bag, you intend that it is not Quran. Right. It is just an Arabic word. You intend it. And hopefully they also intended when they made the bags and they mass produce the bags, that they intended that it means is an Arabic word and not Quran. Right. So but you can intend it lah. But to play safe, just avoid it. Get a cat colored bag or something, like a cat print bag or something like that. Just avoid it, because the thing about Islam is that there are all these different opinion, right? The best thing to do is to stay in an area whereby there's no difference of opinion. So you don't really have to carry a bag that says Iqra. You don't really have to carry a pencil box that says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Do you really have to do so? You can say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim from your own mouth, on your own tongue, right? But do you really have to carry a pencil box that says Bismillahirrahmanirrahim that can be possibly thrown on the floor, right, by a child? Right? I mean, do you have to? Yeah. So sometimes you wonder, when people make all this stuff, right? These things it's so difficult to dispose. If the word Allah is on it, you don't know what to do with it. And then you're stuck with all these things with the word Allah everywhere, and you don't know how to dispose of it because it's the word Allah is on these things. No, mashallah. About the question of ratib during menses, you can read ratib, but not the Fatihas. The Fatihas you cannot read. The ratib you can. The Fatihas are not part of the original ratib, by the way. Okay. Okay, if you're on your menses, you do Fatiha before bed every night. If your Fatiha is because of protection, yes, you can. Yes. Okay. If you intend for dua to remember Allah, can you read the verses of the Quran during menses? Okay. If you want to do remembrance of Allah, you can do zikr, right? If you want to read the Quran verses, then you can do it in your heart because you're doing remembrance. You don't have to actually recite it out loud on your menses. Right? So for me personally, also when I'm on my menses, right? Even though if you have memorized Quran, you can recite it out loud to try and revise your Quran. But for me, I prefer to just revise it in my head. I actually revise it in my head, or I type it out onto my computer. Right. So then there is it's out of any difference of opinion. All right. Okay, all these rules of opinion, right, is there as a mercy, so people can take them if they need to. However, right, if you can do it in such a way whereby you don't have to go into all these areas of the rules of opinion, you can stay away out of it, then that is safer, that is better, right? That is better. Right. So yes, you can continue to zikr and salawat through your menses. There's no problem. It's only about the Quran. Okay, zikr and salawat is during menses, no problem at all. And in fact, you should be doing it more. What if the word Allah in English on the paper can throw it into the bin, right? So in English, of course, it's not haram like how in Arabic it's haram, but in English it's like you say bad etiquette, right? So usually for me, I would either cross it out or I would tear it, right, into small pieces, so you can't, it's not discernible, right? Then you can throw it away lah. Or there are services that you can shred it, right? You can shred it. All right. Right. So if Fatiha for an intention, no, you cannot. It has to be like a wirid, inshallah. Okay, I hope it's clear. Okay, now, right, so in carrying the mushaf, okay, if you share the khatam with others and you take some particular juz and it coincides with your daily Quran juz, can you combine? Yes, you can combine. It's up to you. You can combine, it's up to you. Right? But if you don't want to, you can recite separately. It's really up to you. The more you recite, the more for you, Right? It's really a matter of the more you recite, the more for you. Right. So you can or if it's combined with your own khatam, if you're going to combine with your own khatam, then cannot. You're going to combine with your own khatam, then cannot. If you're going to combine with your wirid, can. Right. Surah Asr also not to be recited by those on menses. Okay, Surah Asr not to be recited by those on menses. Right. So it is a form of Quran recitation. Okay, okay, carrying the mushaf. Okay, we'll just take this a bit and then we'll pray Isha. So carrying the mushaf, right? So now comes the definition, the differences of the ruling, right? So like not impermissible, right, to carry, right, a mushaf, right, whether or not there is direct contact with it, right? So for example, I know with some people, they think that if I were to use a cloth, around the mushaf and carry it, or touch it, is permissible. No, it's still not permissible. You can't use a cloth, right, to wrap it and then to carry it like that, or use a cloth to try and push the Quran. You can't do that, right? Cloth still cannot, right? So if the mushaf is the only thing in your bag, as you have a bag and the mushaf is the only thing in the bag, And when you carry the bag, you are intending to carry the mushaf, that is not permissible. However, if the mushaf is in your bag, and there are many things as well in your bag, there are a few other things, your phone, your wallet, there are a few things in your bag, and you carry the entire bag, you're intending everything in the bag. That one is permissible. Okay, right? So you and right, or to carry, it's intending, it's solely, right? Right. Which is not permissible, right? Permissible to carry a few things together with the mushaf, intending all of it. Okay, all right, you can do this. Okay, all right, alhamdulillah, to sit in the masjid, impermissible. So again, masjid is it is specifically the prayer section, right? It's called the sempadan masjid, the prayer section, right? That is placed for masjid. Okay, in the rotation of recitation, right? So hence, right, so permissible to recite if for protection or as a wirid, right, or habit. Okay, all right. Okay, so next week I will continue from number 2, inshallah. There are a few questions here. Okay, a few questions here. Okay, if I recite Surah Rahman for peace of mind, it's heavy for me to do it every day. Can I do it during my nifas period? I worry about postponed depression. Okay, for Surah Ar-Rahman, because it is not a prescribed recitation to do daily. It's not a prescribed recitation to do daily from the Prophet ﷺ. It's not a surah that is lazim. What you can do is listen to it. Right? Listen to it and have your heart recite together with it without your tongue. All right, because about especially about depression, it's in the heart, right? If you want to hear it, you know, the vibrations of the surah, then play it out loudly. There's always a way. There's always a way around this than to have yourself recite it, you know, directly. Okay, there's always a way around this. So you can play it out loud, listen to it, have your heart follow without your voice nor tongue. But your heart is following it. If you mouth it, it's also okay, but no voice. Right? So you can mouth it as well, but with no voice, permissible. Right? But it is not a prescribed surah to be recited daily in a sense. Right? So someone asked, how do we ensure our strength for ibadah spiral down during menses when we wake up way after subuh, because we have to wake up before subuh and don't have the breaks in the day to focus on ibadah. So if you okay, so if you find yourself being spiritually down in your menses, it's really you need to push it lah. You need to. I can't say anything else. You just have to push it. You just have to force yourself into, you know, your wirid. You have to force yourself into zikir, into slawat, you know, or find a different form of worship like classes. Just tune into many classes as much as possible, right? Or just play things on your phone, on your computer, slawat and zikir and so on. Just force yourself on it. Force yourself on it. Okay. All right. Another question here. Can you enter the masjid since the toilet is inside the masjid during your menses? Because yes, you can walk through. You see down here, this part, you can walk through the masjid if you don't fear dirtying it. If you don't fear dirtying it, you can very well walk through, no problem. There's no problem at all walking through the masjid, even if it's for like not for toilet or whatsoever, for other reasons. You can, no problem. All right. Last question here. Let me take our break. If we knock the mushaf during menses and it falls on the floor, okay. So and you're the only one at home, yes, pick it up. All right. So if the mushaf falls on the floor and there's nobody else to pick it up, yes, you quickly pick it up. You istighfar. Okay, you pick it up out of honor for the mushaf, so you don't have to leave it on the floor, right? You pick it up and then you istighfar after that. Okay. All right. We'll start there for today. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. So inshallah at 9:15 we will continue with our class, inshallah. 9:15. Barakallahu feekum.